No court in the Lori Vallow case today, but a summary of last week. Richard Allen gets permission to move to a more comfortable location. Detek Chauvin gets no relief. And this is why you always double check if the door is locked at night. And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. Let's talk about it. Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't. Like if you do. Leave me a comment below, and make sure you hit that little bell so that you receive notifications of when we go live or put up new content. Remember, you can always listen to us on any of your favorite podcasting apps. You just simply have to search Crime Talk with Scott Reich. All right, let's pay some bills. Go to CrimeTalkSearch.com. Sign up for that background subscription service today. You're going to be happy that you do. Now, when you sign up, literally while you wait, you will have a background search conducted, and the results of that report will be emailed to you. And what you do with it, you can do with it what you choose. And it's going to provide information as to someone's criminal history. Are they on one of those public registries? Do they have liens? Do they have judgments against them? Everything you want to know about somebody. And let's face it, it's not just somebody you're getting involved with, maybe you met on the internet. That is dating malpractice to not go to CrimeTalkSearch.com. Listen, maybe you have your kids have some new friends hanging out. You don't get a warm, fuzzy feeling. Go check out the parents. Go to CrimeTalkSearch.com. You'll be happy that you did. All right, let's go ahead and open the record for April 17th of 2023, and let's get started with the docket. So there's no court today in the Lori Vallow matter. As you may recall, one of the prosecutors had a death in the family, and everybody agreed, the court, the defense, and the prosecution agreed to, well, have no court today. That's just the professional and, well, kind thing to do. So I don't know what you did all weekend, but I listened to the Lori Vallow trial, and I got up to speed on everything. Well, let's just say the weirdness is just absolutely crazy. How do you describe such weirdness other than it's just weird? Who believes this stuff? Anyway, let's give you a quick summary of last week. So we had emails and text messages between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell as they began their extramarital affair, and where they allegedly are starting to conspire to kill people that are in their way. One of the messages was from Mr. Daybell comparing himself to Harry Potter. He said, quote, "I'm a grown-up version of Harry Potter who has to live with the Dudleys in his little space under the stairs." He wrote that back in July of 2019. "Every few weeks I get to escape and have these amazing adventures with my goddess lover. But then I have to return to my life under the stairs feeling trapped." Yes, these two were completely infatuated with one another and clearly having an affair. We also heard from Miss Vallow's former friend and former fellow cultist, Zulema Pastanis, told the court that there were ritualistic castings and that Miss Lori Vallow and Mr. Daybell performed to drive out demons from the dark spirits. You can't make that stuff up. Now, one of our subscribers let me know that apparently it's not uncommon for people high up in the Mormon church to have interactions with Jesus Christ. In fact, it's expected if you're high up in the church, is my understanding. I take this with a grain of salt, but the person seemed somewhat knowledgeable and said that it is almost expected that the higher-ups in the church have these interactions with Jesus Christ. As you may recall, Lori Vallow said that she was interacting with Jesus Christ. So just letting you know, this is apparently why some of these people believe these things, and when somebody says it, apparently if you've had an interaction or a dream or something with Jesus Christ, that therefore you must, well, be telling the truth. You're not some charlatan, I guess. Anyway, Zulema testified under oath for the prosecution, and she opened up about Lori Vallow and basically the cult beliefs. We'll talk about that a bit in a minute. We also heard a phone conversation between Mr. Daybell and Lori Vallow, and then her best friend, Melanie Gibb, who was on the stand, who also testified for the prosecution. Now, in early December 2019, the call that she recorded surreptitiously, Ms. Gibb delved into the couple's bizarre cult beliefs and later confronted them, asking her to lie to the police about JJ's whereabouts. Now, we heard this at the preliminary hearing, but it just reinforces seriously the consciousness of guilt and the lengths of which Lori Vallow would go to, well, not get caught or have to explain why her children, JJ and Tylee, were missing and were unaccounted for. And of course, in the other call was the notorious jailhouse call where Chad Daybell tells his new wife, who's sitting in custody, that law enforcement were on the scene and basically getting warmer. Ultimately, Chad Daybell was arrested shortly after the remains of Tylee and JJ were found. Photos shown at the trial also reveal how her slain son JJ was still wearing his red pajamas and a nighttime diaper when his remains were found buried in that shallow grave on Chad Daybell's property. Now, Joshua, or JJ Vallow, was last seen alive on September 22nd of 2019. The last proof of life showed the little boy who had autism sitting on a sofa dressed in a matching set of red pajamas. 9 months later, on June 2020, remains belonged to him and his 16-year-old sister, Tylee, were found buried on the grounds of the mother's new husband's property, Chad Daybell. I know his defense is going to be, how did those get there? It must have been Alex Cox, Lori's brother, who of course killed her previous husband, Charles Vallow, and it goes on and on and on. Anyway, Lori Vallow's former nephew-in-law broke down in tears on the witness stand as he testified about the moment he had to identify the remains of her murdered 7-year-old son. Lori Vallow, as the DA explained in their opening argument, was driven by money, power, and sex, and that led to the murder of the 2 children and the new life that she was going to embark upon with Chad Daybell. Now, we talked about Zulema Pastenas. Well, she testified, and I think the words that could possibly be used to sum up her testimony would be, Anyway, John Thomas began his cross-examination of Zulema, the widow of Vallow's brother, Alex Cox, about 3 p.m., so they didn't have a whole lot of time before the court ended for the day, and he's expected his cross-examination will end on Tuesday. But during the brief time that they were able to conduct the cross-examination, Zulema was asked whether she believed that her work, referring to the castings out of spirits, had a direct effect on the death of Tammy Daybell, JJ, and Tylee. And Zulema said, well, not my work, but Chad and Lori's work, yes, it did. And as you may recall, Melanie Gibbs' testimony, she said that Vallow believed they would die if someone's dark spirit had been removed. Zulema was asked, do I believe that evil spirits can be cast out? Zulema responded, yes. She said because Jesus Christ did it in the Bible. She said that she no longer believes the Daybells and Vallow can cast people out. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Quick recap. There's more. You got to go. We've got the entire audio up. As you may recall, the court limited the audio recordings that can only be released at the end of the day. You have to pay for them, and there's no cameras in the courtroom. Unbelievable to me why the court would not allow that. We really haven't heard anything new other than perhaps the cause of death as it relates to Tammy Daybell, Chad Daybell's wife, that she died of asphyxiation. That's really about all we've heard new. Hopefully this week we'll get into some more new stuff. Take a listen. It's kind of hard to listen to in some spots because witnesses are, well, pretty bad. But you just got to get through it. If I had a nickel for every time the word was used with Zulema, well, I'd be rich. Next on the docket, the Delphi murder suspect. He gets permission to move. As we discussed last week, Richard Allen's attorneys asked the court to move Richard Allen from the Indiana Department of Corrections facility, where he is currently being held pending trial, alleging Allen is forced to sleep on a pad laid atop a concrete floor and is only allowed showers twice a week. And he has been prohibited from seeing his wife and family and is limited to very limited recreational time. Now, as you may recall, Mr. Allen is facing 2 counts of murder in the twin 2017 slayings of Abigail Abby Williams and her friend Libby German. Their bodies were discovered in a wooded area just off of the Delphi Historic Trail system, and Abby and Libby vanished while walking the Monon High Bridge Trail near Delphi, Indiana, back on February 13th of 2017. The trail goes along an abandoned stretch of what was once the Monon Railroad and crosses an old trestle over a small river or creek. The girls were found deceased the next day in the area near the trestle. Now, Allen's next hearing is currently scheduled to take place on June 15th. Now, why did the court say that Mr. Allen could be moved? Well, his attorneys have made some allegations, such as Mr. Allen has been entombed in a cell as small as 6 feet in width by 10 feet in length, a space no larger than a dog kennel. Mr. Allen is being treated far less favorably than a convicted person, many of which are housed in a less secure area of the prison. They're offered programming, therapy, and mental health services, routine recreation, and contact visits with family and friends. In the order issued by the judge on Friday, Judge Fran C. Gull granted Allen's request to modify the safekeeping order regarding his pretrial detention to accommodate his medical and physical needs pursuant to the medical directives by the Department of Corrections, physicians, psychiatrists, or psychologists, which basically means the judge is not going to get involved and say which place or which facility he needs to be placed at, but simply saying the Department of Corrections can move him but keep him safe so that he gets the help that he needs. We're not there to torture anybody. I get it. It makes sense. This all had to do with the November 3rd order that the judge imposed, stating that the Carroll County sheriffs were ordered pursuant to the Indiana Code and orders that the sheriff of Carroll County to transfer the defendant to a facility of the Department of Corrections designated by the commissioner of the department as suitable for the confinement of the defendant and provide the spaces available. These types of orders are referred to as safekeeper orders, and the Department of Corrections has complied with this order. Consistent with that order and the safekeeper statute, the Department of Corrections is authorized to move the defendant within the Department of Corrections to accommodate his medical and physical needs pursuant to the medical directives of the Department of Corrections, physicians, psychiatrists, or psychologists. There you go, straight from the court's order. Next on the docket, Detek Chauvin gets no relief. That's right, you remember Detek Chauvin? Yeah, that's right, George Floyd. Well, the Minnesota Court of Appeals on Monday upheld the most serious murder conviction against the former Minneapolis police officer Detek Chauvin for the killing of George Floyd. Mr. Chauvin is currently serving a 22-and-a-half-year sentence on the second-degree murder count, and Chauvin later pled guilty to a separate federal civil rights charge and was sentenced to 21 years in federal prison, which he is now serving in Arizona, concurrent with his state sentence. Now, his attorneys asked on appeal for the court to throw out the conviction for several reasons, including pretrial publicity. Chauvin's attorneys argued that the legal and procedural errors deprived Chauvin of a fair trial. Needless to say, prosecutors say Chauvin got a fair trial and just sentence, with obviously a Detek Chauvin arguing that the trial should have been moved out of Minneapolis because of the extensive pretrial publicity and unprecedented precautions as it relates to security due to fears of violence. As you may recall, people were saying if he was acquitted, the city would burn. The primary issue on appeal, though, is whether a criminal defendant can get a fair trial consistent with constitutional requirements in a courthouse surrounded by concrete block, barbed wire, 2 armored personnel carriers, and a squad of the National Guard troops, all of which are there for one purpose: in the event that the jury acquits the defendant. Chauvin's attorneys stated in their oral arguments back in January. But the state's attorneys argued that Chauvin got one of the most transparent and thorough trials in our nation's history, and that Chauvin's many arguments before this court do not come close to justifying a reversal of his conviction. Chauvin's attorney said not only should the trial have been moved, but the jurors should have been sequestered. and also wrote that the publicity and the riots, the city's $27 million settlement with Floyd's family, announced during the jury selection, the unrest over police killing of a black man in Minneapolis suburb during jury selection, and the sealing of the courthouse were just some of the factors prejudicing Chauvin's chance to even receive a fair trial. His appeal also focused on one juror who participated in a civil rights event commemorating Reverend Martin Luther King's March on Washington a few months after Floyd's death. Only after trial did the juror reveal that he had actually been at the march. The juror was questioned during selection about whether he had participated in any demonstrations or marches in Minneapolis against the police brutality after Mr. Floyd's death, but Chauvin's original attorney, Eric Nelson, did not ask whether he participated in any marches elsewhere. Chauvin's attorneys also argued that Cahill, the judge, should have held a hearing after the revelation to determine whether the jury's non-disclosure constituted juror misconduct. And he further argued that the Court of Appeals should send the case back to Judge Cahill for a hearing on that issue, a request that the Judge Cahill, the trial court judge, had denied. Other disputes in the appeal include whether it was legally permissible to convict Chauvin of third-degree murder, given a 2021 Minnesota Supreme Court decision clarifying the definition of that crime, and whether Cahill was justified in exceeding the 12.5-year recommended sentence under the state's sentencing guidelines. I don't think we're done hearing about this case. I think it will obviously go to the Supreme Court as well, the state Supreme Court. I don't think they will take it up on the federal Supreme Court if the Supremes in Minnesota deny that request. Derek Chauvin's going to get his trial. And frankly, when he pleads guilty to the federal case where he's going to serve a sentence, it really kind of makes the whole thing moot. And what judge is going to say, let's do this all over again? Nope, nobody. Next on the docket, this is why we check those doors before we go to bed at night, because this is just creepy. Dan Abimana was seen on some home security footage inside a lady's apartment in Iowa. Now, the woman says she doesn't know the guy, and in the early morning hours of April 1st, Abimana entered the residence, spending about 30 minutes inside the house. During that time, he was seen walking through the entire apartment, at times staring at the woman who lived there as she slept on the couch. He walked around the apartment. He had some water. He's also seen organizing some shoes and placing them next to the couch. Weird. Well, Abimana later turned himself in after recognizing himself in a report which was run by a local TV affiliate. The woman, who hasn't been identified, said the reason for a stranger to be able to get into her apartment without waking up is apparently she sleeps on the TV, so it's a little bit of quiet noise there. The woman said the reason why somebody could get into the house and her not notice it while she was asleep was that she sleeps with the TV on, and she said that this guy obviously was super quiet, obviously because she kept sleeping. She said that the intruder had even been down to the kids' room, which is really creepy, and the alleged intruder woke her up after apparently bumping her knee while moving around her as she lay on the couch. She asked him who he was, but really didn't get an answer. He said, "I'm the guy who dropped you off last night." At that point, she knew this was not a friend, and she was concerned about her child. The woman said she started screaming at that point, at which point the intruder was headed towards the door, grabbing a pair of socks on his way out. Unclear whether they were his socks or the unidentified woman's socks. Needless to say, she called the police like any responsible person would. They took fingerprints and searched the grounds. Of course, they found nobody. She said that she wanted to press charges. So the police obviously took their report, and when the intruder came forward, he has been charged. She also has a theory as to why he was organizing shoes, and the unidentified woman speculates that he was on drugs or something. She couldn't smell any alcohol on the man when he was standing right in front of her, and she was awake. Now, the woman's door was unlocked. Apparently, somebody else was at the apartment and left and didn't lock the door, but this is why we double-check everything. Now, obviously, that would freak out just about anyone. Thank goodness nothing happened to the woman or her child. Lock your doors, ladies and gentlemen.
As a pet owner, you want to give your furry friend the very best. That's why Baked in Colorado's CBD-infused dog treats are the perfect choice. These delicious treats not only taste great, but they also provide a wide range of health benefits for your pet. CBD has been shown to have many positive effects on dogs, including reducing anxiety, alleviating pain and inflammation, and improving overall wellness. Baked in Colorado's treats are infused with premium, full-spectrum CBD oil, meaning your pet will benefit from the whole plant extract. Not only that, but Baked in Colorado's treats are made with all-natural human-grade ingredients, so you can feel good about what you're giving your pet. They're also free from wheat, corn, and soy, making them a great option for dogs with food sensitivities. Baked in Colorado CBD-infused dog treats are the perfect way to support your pet's health and well-being. With various flavors, including peanut butter, pumpkin, and bacon, your dog will love them too. So why wait? Head to www.bakedincolorado.com today and order your dog a bag of these delicious and nutritious treats. Your pet will thank you for it.
And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. A 21-year-old member of the Air National Guard is facing charges for allegedly trying to get a job as a hitman. He went as far as uploading his resume to a parody website. Now, Josiah Ernesto Garcia was charged in federal court with use of interstate facilities in commission of murder for hire. Garcia allegedly looked online for jobs as a mercenary because he needed some money to support his family and came across rentahitman.com, which was created back in 2005 to advertise a cybersecurity startup. The startup didn't make it, but the website remains. Garcia, not being aware of that little fact, allegedly sent an inquiry on the site indicated that he was interested in obtaining employment as a hitman. The U.S. Attorney's Office alleged Garcia submitted official documents and his resume, adding that he gained the nickname Reaper in the Air National Guard because of his marksmanship and military career. He reportedly said he wanted to go to work as soon as possible, and then Garcia began communicating with an undercover FBI agent, posing as someone who wanted an individual killed. The FBI offered $5,000 for the hit, and the two met in a park in Tennessee. The U.S. Attorney said that the FBI agent gave Garcia a target package of a fictional individual, which included photographs and other information about the individual to be knocked off, as well as a deposit of $2,500. Garcia agreed to the terms, then asked the agent if he needed to provide a photograph of the dead body. Needless to say, you can imagine what happened next. That's right, the FBI agents then arrested him and searched his home, where they found an AR-style weapon. And now Mr. Garcia faces up to 10 years in federal prison for submitting a resume to a bogus website that ultimately gets turned over to the FBI, saying he wants to kill somebody, whereupon now he's been arrested for agreeing to kill a fictional person. Yes, Mr. Garcia, that is dumb. First of all, why would you think you could do that? Second of all, and everybody knows, if you're advertising your services as a hitman and you actually meet with the person that you're supposed to be dealing with, guess what? It's always the FBI, okay? Just a little fact there for you future hitmen out there. Just kidding. Just kidding. Don't become a hitman. It never works out, okay? Just saying. But if you're talking to people in person, I assure you it's the FBI. It's the FBI. And you probably don't want to use your real name, Mr. Garcia. Anyway, Mr. Garcia, you're a dumb criminal of the day. Congratulations. You made it. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. Lori Vallow trial will be back again tomorrow, but don't forget to watch the Letitia Stout trial going on as it relates to the death of young Gannon Stout. Not looking good for the defense in that case at all. We'll see whether their one and only witness, the psychiatrist who's going to say that she was suffering some associative disorder, is her defense. Is it going to be able to carry the day? We'll have to wait and see. We'll give her that presumption of innocence. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk.